me take my 10 minutes, first of all, to welcome our speakers. And in order, I'm happy to welcome Alberto Zazza from the World Bank, Paolo Buccirossi from LEAR, Economic Consultancy. We call them business presentations, even if maybe there are also institutional presentations as well. Alberto and Paolo work in institutions or consultancy firms that could become a wonderful place for our students. So they have agreed to share with us information that might be useful for our current students to understand what a career path could be and what to do. After that, we will have 3 of our alumni. This year, we have a majority of male alumni, contrary to the past, where we have, so overall, we have a perfect balance. So I'm happy to welcome Davide Bellucci from LEAR, Silvia Vannutelli from Boston University on her way to Northwestern, and Oliviero Papa from the United Nations. Okay, Federica, let me now share a few slides on EEBL. So I know that by stop sharing. So we always know that this event sometimes is also attended by future students. So I would like to take just 2-3 minutes to present the program. Give me a little bit. Okay, and to see maybe also past students, Oliviero, for example, might tell us how things have changed compared to the time they were here. So EEBL remains a Master of Science in European Studies, although we are on hold a procedure for becoming also entitled to participate to Italian competitions for economists. Is a program entirely taught in English, which combines economics with law management and statistics. One of our characterizing features is the presence of a number of extra activities. So on top of internship programs at a number of institutions, we offer courses, IT courses like Advanced Excel and MATLAB for students who want to, who find these instruments useful for developing their career skills, CV and motivation letter writing, but also more recently soft skills and career skills workshops. And we benefit from the opportunity for a selected number of students to benefit from a dual title degree with the University SOAS of London, spending the second year of the program abroad. The program has changed a little bit compared to last year's, and it's now characterized by first year with a combination of economic courses like game theory, industrial organization, statistical courses like statistical learning, but also law courses like European institutions, law and markets. And we have some new teachers also for this and economic history. The second year is similarly spirits. You have economics, but also courses in law and management and statistics. We offer more and more the opportunity to our students who wish to learn econometrics. So we have also applied courses in econometrics. But also over the years, we've seen that our students benefit from management courses for public administrations and NGOs, or in general for courses that could make them attractive for international institutions. So we offer courses like development economics, environmental economics, and health economics. one of the characteristics of our program is that not only students with a background in economics come, we also have students with very good backgrounds in law. In Olivier is one of them, and in sometimes even in history or literature. And they have the opportunity to attend these preparatory courses before the program starts to kind of get the necessary competencies to then start the proper program. The extra activities remain one of our strongest points, and we keep developing. Just this year, we've added math lab courses as a further opportunity. There are also a number of extra activities to which we don't attach any credits or anything. They are just an opportunity for students to develop career skills, presentation skills, report writing skills, and so on. So as you can see, colors show new initiatives that we have introduced and created. So in terms of performance, placement, and admissions, we are super happy, we have to say. The placement remains extremely good. Here it's the Alma Laura survey, which shows that the percentage of students who are employed is extremely high, reaching 83%, even just after within a year from the end of the study, and this is higher than university level, and it reaches 100% just after 3 years. As I said, the academic background is not just economics, but also other disciplines, and is working well. We keep receiving a good number of applications. We keep being selective, and I must say increasingly so. And we keep being an international community, which makes us very proud. We follow students over the years, looking at average performance per courses, average number of CFU credits, and we're seeing that things keep going better as a sign of an increasing selection. You can contact Federica, whom I thank for organizing the event, and for any further information. And I will now just start the event by introducing our first speaker, who is Alberto Zezza from the World Bank. Give me 1 second. So first of all, many thanks to Alberto for making himself available to be here today. So Alberto is with the Development Data Group of the World Bank, where he's a program manager of the Center for Development Data based in Rome. His research interests are in the area of agriculture and rural development and food security. He's part of the Living Standards Measurement Study team, where he focuses specifically on improving the availability and quality of agriculture, food, and rural data in multi-topic household surveys. Prior to joining the World Bank, he was with the Agricultural Development Economic Division of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, the FAO, and he holds a PhD in Agriculture and Development Economics from the University of Rome, and a Master of Arts in Development Economics from the University of Sussex, and a bachelor's degree in Economics from the University of Naples, Federico II. Alberto, thanks again. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Elisabetta. Thank you for the invitation, and yeah, it's great to be here. Nice to be speaking to students. So I hope I prepared some slides. Maybe I will share my screen. Give me just a second. Okay, let me find the right. Should be this one. Can you see my presentation now full screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So I've tried to put together a set of slides, which I hope it's useful for the attendees. But yeah, I absolutely welcome you contacting me afterwards and following up if you have any specific questions that are not covered. Elisabetta introduced me, so I don't need to repeat that. I will try also to keep time under control, so we then have time for questions afterwards. The way I've organized the presentation, let's see if it. Okay. Is in three quick sections. One is about the what. So what is the World Bank, what it does, and giving you a very quick overview of what might be say different prospects for different areas of work of the bank. Even though this is difficult because, as you will see, it's a very large organization and very diverse. The second part is about the how. So what are the entry points for somebody who's finishing their studies or in early stages of their career to enter a career path with the bank? And what are the main channels to apply? I think somebody's not unmuted. Okay, and then lastly, so who and there I will try and informally speak about my own path and maybe highlight some also paths of other colleagues at the bank who might have a CV somewhat similar to the students that that come out of this program, even though maybe I have selected the ones that have more of a low background, but still I hope that might be useful. What is the World Bank? Well, the World Bank is actually been the correct designation is the World Bank Group, because it is in fact a combination of 5 institutions that you see listed in this slide. The one that it's normally goes by the name the World Bank is the IBRD, the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. And essentially IBRD and IDA do mostly development lending and also sharing of knowledge in the area of development. The IFC is more of a private sector arm of the World Bank Group. And then MIGA and ICSID are relatively smaller components of the World Bank Group. The first one dealing with investment guarantees, and the second one on settlement of investment disputes. So it is one of several regional multilateral banks or international financing institutions alongside the IMF, and then again there's several regional development banks: the Inter-American one, the African, the Asian, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So some of the things that I mean, I will talk specifically about the World Bank, but if you're interested in this type of career, keep in mind that there is a lot of other institutions which offer similar opportunities. The bank, again, it's a very large and diverse organization. So there is anything in it from lending to finance to health to engineers, data scientists, anthropologists, and of course economists who work there. So it's very hard to speak about one set of skills or one career path. You will have to find, let's say, the space that most suits you. And also in terms of what the bank does and people at the bank do, it's very diverse. I mean, there is people who work in the part of the bank that is more like a proper bank in the sense that they lending money or managing the assets of the bank in financial markets. There is another part which is probably the largest. It is one about operations. that follows the design and implementation of projects with the countries that received financing from the bank. And then there is a part where I work, which is the one more about knowledge. So there is a research department full of economists and also data scientists or statisticians, which is the part where I'm based. In terms of things that the bank does that might speak clearly to the intersection between business and economics, where I understand this program is focused, there is, for instance, areas of where the bank does analysis. One prominent report is the doing business report, which looks at regulation and the ease of doing business in different countries by looking at regulation and another possible constraint. There is this report on women, business, and the law, which is also something that has been quite prominent in the recent years. A kind of sectoral doing business for agriculture, which is this enabling the business of agriculture report. There is also in national doing business reports for specific countries. There is, of course, a legal department in procurement. I mean, this connection between law and economics is also very important. But then there is also projects and activities related to technical assistance to policy and regulatory reform, where this intersection between economics and law might be particularly a useful asset. But then there is, I think, countless of other areas where your skills would be marketable. On the how, I mean, there is a fairly straightforward let's say employment page on the World Bank website. So I don't need to repeat whatever is there. You can go there and study it yourself. It's all fairly straightforward. I wanted to highlight a couple of things which are, let's say, the prevalent entry points for a lot of younger people who enter the organization. One is the Young Professional Program, which has become over the years more and more competitive, and normally people who enter the program are not just fresh graduates, but they have some previous work experience. And I've added some information on the slide on the current state of the program. And then there is a series of internships, which are at the bank always paid internships. So these are the standard programs, but then I would focus your attention also on the very last bullet on the left side of the slide, which is the fact that a lot of people also enter these organizations through by starting with short-term consultancies as research assistants or other entry-level position, and then from there you and so there is the, let's say, the institutionalized programs, but then also sending a CV to the right person at the right moment might also open some doors. And then there is a specific legal internship program, which actually I didn't know about until I started preparing for this presentation, which is again an internship program, but with a specific target for people who are enrolled in law programs. And it has different windows of application in the summer, fall, and spring. Again, for the detail, you can find everything on the website. And finally, about the who. So how specifically I entered the bank, and I mean, what has been my career. So Elisabetta mentioned a little bit of this, my academic path, and then I really started as a research assistant with the FAO. And there, what I would say is that what gave me that opportunity was a little bit of and something, a bit of advice is in your studies, try and focus on something that is relevant and current. So at that point, my thesis was on the reform of the social economic systems. And I found a research assistant position at FAO because they were starting a project precisely on that, and they needed somebody with that knowledge and skills. And then from there, over the years, I actually moved on. There is always a little bit of intention, but also a little bit of chance in your career path, I find. Then I had the first experience at the bank of just about a year in 2002, 2003, again on Albania, but moving to household surveys. Then I went back to the FAO for 7 years, and then since 2010, I've come back to the World Bank, where, let's say, mixing my my expertise on data, but also on agricultural economics in my current positions. I wanted to give you also maybe a flavor of some of the positions with more of a legal background. So of course we have a legal department, and you see this colleague here is a senior counsel. He had a BA in classical studies, then he studied law, then he did an MA in international economics, and he pretty much entered the bank upon finishing his degree, and as you see, I mean, initially he was a consultant, and then he progressed towards other position, first in policy, but then ending up in the legal part of the bank. This other younger colleague, he or she had a bachelor in law and a master, and then first he started in the private sector, but then she moved to the bank. Again, also in this case, starting with the consultancy, and actually this one is still in a long-term consultancy position. And this other one is a regulatory specialist. So this person works in the doing business unit right now, and also in this case, the academic degrees were in law, but then also a master in law and economics, which might be somewhat similar to what you're doing, and then started working as a lawyer, and also as in an embassy as a diplomat, but then ended up in entering the bank again as a consultant, and then moving to a staff position, and in different units again. So that is all I have. I'm not sure I've struck the right balance in content and tone, but again, here's my contacts, and do get in touch if you have any questions or would like any more information. Thank you, and over to you, Elisabetta.
Thanks, Alberto. It's definitely very, very useful. I maybe just one question to you, and then we'll move because we have a tight schedule. What are you working on at the moment?
Okay, as I said, I mean, we work on data. The part of the bank where we work is the one that does both research and technical assistance to countries. So what we do is help national statistical offices in low and middle income countries. Our programs are particularly focused in Africa right now. Work on methodology to collect data on poverty living standards. When you read that I don't know, X number of people in the world are poor, those numbers come from this type of data sets, and it's quite a bit of work to try and measure these things in as accurately as possible, but it's also quite a bit of fun. I mean, there is also a lot of things moving in terms of besides just asking people how can we measure things more objectively, for instance, through the use of technology, of sensors, how can we combine the data we collect on the ground with I don't know, data from Earth observation. So it's not a boring job at all. It's actually quite interesting.
Interesting. That's absolutely fantastic. I'm sure people will have questions, but I want this meeting to be on time. So Alberto, thank you so much again, and thanks also for sharing your contacts. People maybe students want to contact them. They might send us the email first, and then we contact them. Just I don't want them to be, but I know you will not be overloaded.
No, they should feel free to contact me directly. They don't need to go through the middleman.
That's very kind. Thank you so much. So let me now introduce our next speakers, and I'm very thankful to Paolo Buccirossi for accepting. So Paolo and Alberto, as you understand, are not our ex-students. They're really people who are working in very interesting fields where we would like to love to see our students in the future. Paolo is the director and founder of LEAR. He has been working in the field of competition policy since 1994. After 5 years spent as an economic advisor at the Italian Competition Authority, Paolo set up his own company, LEAR, in 1999. Since then, he has advised private clients and public institutions on a wide range of competition issues in a variety of industries before the European Commission and several national competition authorities. Paolo regularly acts as consultant for the World Bank and the EBRD, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. In addition, he has led several research projects for the European Commission, the European Parliament, and several national competition authorities in the world. Paolo, on top of that, has also published in several academic journals like the Journal of Public Economics, the Journal of Industrial Economics, the Review of Economics and Statistics, and the Journal of Regulatory Economics. And he has been the editor of the Handbook of Antitrust Economics, which I strongly recommend you to read if you're interested in competition policy. Paolo, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much, Elisabetta, for inviting me for this nice introduction. I'm also going to share my screen so that I can show some slides. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I was asked, as Alberto did, to introduce you to the work we do, and so that you get some inspiration for your career, I guess. This is a very short presentation of the company, of what we do, to the who are our clients, and then, as Elisabetta suggested, to tell you a couple of cases, but we have a very strong and tight time constraint, so I went for just one. Okay, and of course there would be a very unfortunate superficial description of the case we worked on. All right, so first question, what do we do? Well, I take this slide from our website, so if you're interested, you can check on our website, the activity, the activities we perform, the kind of engagements we have, and some recent work we have done. So, but if I have to say in a single sentence, what we do is that we apply economics to legal issues, any legal issues. If it requires some, the application of some economic analysis, we are there to help. As Elisabetta said, I started as an economist at the Italian Competition Authority, and therefore, that's the core of our business, so where our business started from, actually. So in competition law, the enforcement of the competition rules require economic analysis. It is the economic analysis needed to define the markets, to identify the markets. It's needed to understand what are the consequences of certain practices on competition. And this is something that economists have studied. So we need to use economic models or the empirical techniques that economists have developed to answer those questions. And that's, you know, where we started from. Actually, that's you know, that was basically the kind of services that we provided when we started more than 20 years ago, actually. And so we helped competition authorities, but mostly the firms or law firms that were involved in proceedings before a competition authority to make their case, to propose arguments to defend themselves or to prove that an infringement was taking place. That's just the beginning, because then we moved to other practice areas that are listed here. I cannot go into the details for each of them, but just to say a few words on the most relevant, I have to say that litigation is definitely the fastest growing area of our activity, and one that I like a lot, I have to say, because I like, you know, fighting against the other economists and quarrel and try to win the case. And we are involved in litigation cases because sometimes economic analysis is needed to define the infringement, okay, the existence of some illegal behavior. Sometimes this is trivial, so economists are not involved for this purpose, because, for instance, there is, I don't know, a contractual breach, or the infringement has been already defined and ascertained by another authority. So there is no need to employ an economist to define the existence of the illegal behavior. However, the economist is always needed for the part that most matter to the two litigants, which is the damage quantification. You need to understand how much one party has to give the other party, and this matters a lot, of course. And so we economists are involved for the evaluation of the level of damages. That's one thing that I like a lot, and it's really growing. You know, firms used to litigate much less in the past, but I don't know for which reasons they have started litigating a lot, and so there is an increasing demand for our services in this area. And another area that I would like to develop much more than it's actually development is procurement. I think that procurement would need the contribution of economists. However, this is an area in which lawyers are still predominant, mostly because I guess procurement officials are much more concerned about, you know, getting their decision right with respect to the legislation they have to apply, rather than to the efficiency of the choices they make. But this might change in the future. And then there are other areas in which we work mostly for public institutions. Those are the technical assistance projects that Alberto mentioned before. There is this policy evaluation in which we help public institutions to assess the impact of the policies they have introduced and applied. And then we work in regulated sectors in which companies and their advisors have to deal with sector regulators that use economics to define specific rules applicable to some specific sectors. Okay, who are our clients? As I said, we have two sets of different clients. One is made of private companies, so this is a very small sample of, fortunately, of companies we have worked for in the last couple of years. I have selected the brands that are most known, because otherwise some of them would not make sense to you. But we do not work only for large companies. We also have small companies as clients. Of course, the very large companies and those that are active in regulated sectors are those that most frequently need the help of an economist. So some of the companies that you find here are our recurrent clients. But we do also work for small companies. The matters we work on are always extremely interesting. Sometimes they make the headlines on newspapers, so it's very interesting to work on important cases. As for the public clients, again, there is a sample of clients we have worked on in the past. There is the European Commission. Of course, we have done some recent study on state aids, on the rules applicable to state aids. This is very important topic at the moment because, as you know, the COVID-19 requires state to intervene to help companies overcome these difficult times. However, they cannot do without any restriction. They have to comply with the existing rules that govern state aid. So there is a lot of demand of this kind of analysis to work with the European Commission. And we help the European Commission, for instance, to assess their policy in this area concerning some specific aids. We work not only in Europe. In these slides, there are a number of public institutions that are outside Europe. There is CADE, which is the Brazilian Competition Authority. We have worked for the Ministry of Economy in Mexico. This is the Secretaría of the Economía. We have worked for the World Bank. We're still currently working for the World Bank. I haven't never worked with Alberto, but this may be an opportunity to start some new project. And we also work currently for the municipality of Rome. Okay, that's interesting. It's nice to contribute to the development of the local economy. And indeed, this is a procurement case, so that's interesting for a number of reasons. And on the bottom right, you find another logo, which is the one of the competition authority in Singapore. And that's not by chance, because the case I'm going to tell you something about is a case concerning that came from precisely from the CCCS, as it is called, the Consumer and Competition Commission of Singapore. Okay, so this is just to tell you something about the kind of cases we work on. This was a merger between two Korean shipbuilders, and DSME and KSOE, or SOE as we called it. And these two shipbuilders had to notify the merger to several competition authorities around the world. The transaction was also notified to the competition authority in Singapore, which is a small but very talented competition authority. And when companies notify a merger, they also submit their own economic analysis, saying, well, that you should not concern about this merger because this is not going to affect the market and competition in the market. But the competition authority was not totally sure about the relevance of the analysis submitted by the parties, and they asked advice to us. Okay. So I'm overly simplifying, of course, but I do not have time to enter into the details of the analysis. But what the parties submitted was a very simple analysis. The idea is very simple. The way it is implemented is much more complicated, which is called the residual supply index analysis, which is an analysis in which basically they say what's the capacity that is left in the market if we remove the capacity of the merging parties. And if there is enough capacity to meet demand, Okay, so if this index is larger than 1, well, that firm is not able to affect the price. So we have to check what would be the situation after the merger. And if we find that the RSI is larger than 1, there are no problems. And the competition authority said, not sure. So I want to know whether that analysis is appropriate, okay, to assess the competitive effects. And please give us some additional thoughts to complement our assessment. And so we started from these two French men, these two guys that in the 19th century developed two very well-known models of market competition. They're called Cournot and Bertrand. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with them. And this is just to show that, you know, those things that you study, they become useful. They're relevant. I mean, it's just not there to have a fancy mathematical model, but they're there to describe, you know, the functioning of the market. So the first thing we looked at was the literature on the residual supply index analysis, and we found out that this analysis is appropriate to understand competition in market if the market firms compete in quantity for no competition and they sell a homogeneous product. So the question was, is the shipbuilding market well described by the Cournot model? So we went there, we collected information, we talked to the clients of the shipbuilders, we had a look at several documents that were available, and we came to the conclusion that no, Bertrand model is much more appropriate to assess competition in this market, and Bertrand model with differentiated products. We went back to the literature, and we understand by looking at the literature that in order to understand, to have a sense of the likely effect of a merger in a market where there is burgeoning competition with differentiated product, is to look at the closeness of rivalry. So the questions we have to answer are the two merging parties very close rival? And how distant are the other competitors from the two merging parties? So we performed a series of analyses. Well, there is no definitely time to describe them, but just to give an example, the win and loss analysis, we looked at data on many tenders and we checked how many times one of the two companies was the runner-up with respect to the other company. So how many times Soy was the winner and the other merging parties was the second one. Okay. We performed an econometric analysis to see whether the bidding behavior of the parties was affected by the presence of the other merger party in the same tender. Okay, and other similar analysis. And so thanks to this kind of assessment, we came to the conclusion that these two guys are very close competitors. Sometimes they are even the closest competitors, so they really compete against each other to win clients, but at the same time that other shipbuilders remain in the market with enough capacity to meet the demand of customers, and that they are close competitors as well. Okay, that's it. I was in time, I guess. And I didn't leave my email. I'm sorry about that. So you have to ask Elisabetta, but if you want to reach me out, please.
We will shield you.
Don't worry.
Excellent.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot to Paolo. It's great also to learn that you're doing more and more work on procurement. We cover a little bit of procurement, also in our courses. Paolo, just one question. Maybe Davide, who is speaking next, will tell us. But So all these econometric analysis that you do them internally. So with your own staff, or sometimes you ask external consultants. So do you work?
We do it internally. That's our expertise. So that's what we provide. In a very lucky moment, we are so busy. We are also overwhelmed that we need to ask help to somebody from out of the company. I mean, but yeah, we do it internally.
A lot internally. Okay, thank you, Paolo. Thank you so much. Let me again thank our two presenters from Institutional Business World Consultancy as well, Alberto Zezza and Paolo Buccirossi, for participating to this event. They are more than welcome to remain connected if they wish, but they should feel free now to leave and carry on with what they were doing. I'm sure our audience has benefited a lot from their useful presentations. We now start the second part of the event, which sees our former students. And every year, recall this is the third event we have. I must say I'm very pleased to see what our brilliant students have managed to achieve, even just few years after their graduation. So today we shall have, first of all, Davide Bellucci, followed by Silvia Vannutelli and Oliviero Papa. So let me say a few words about Davide. So with all coordinating with Paolo, Davide is now working at LER. He will give a different presentation, of course. So Davide obtained his PhD in economics from, yes? Okay. Silvia, okay. I stopped for a second because they're telling me that Davide has a little connection problem. So if Silvia is available,
I'm happy to go first.
Of course, no doubt about it. Great, Silvia. So we are going to start with Silvia. So Silvia Vannutelli recently completed her PhD in economics at Boston University, and will now join Northwestern University Department of Economics as an assistant professor in September. This is an amazing achievement. She's an applied microeconomist who uses original and administrative data and rigorous empirical methods to answer policy relevant questions. In fact, if you look at her website, you can really go through some of her papers, and they are very interesting. Very often she uses also Italian data. Her research focuses on core topics in public, political, and labor economics that pertain to the collection of revenues and the allocation of government resources, the design of social insurance policies, and the role of institutions and political economy considerations in policy making. Before moving to the US, which was now 4 years ago, maybe 5, Silvia earned a bachelor's degree in political science at the University of Roma III, and then was our master student here at EEBL. She took a thesis on political economy, analyzing empirical data, and it was supervised by Stefano Gagliarducci. She also worked as research assistant at Procenter, the Center on Procurement here at Tor Vergata, that I was directing at that time. So thanks again to Silvia for giving her time for us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Elisabetta. Thanks, everyone. I'm excited to be virtually here. I'm actually in Boston for my graduation, It's morning here. So I don't have slides because I just didn't know how exactly to put up a presentation about doing a PhD, because it's not really about, I don't have much to present about a company. It's more about, telling you something about what does it mean to do research. And I'm actually going to be an academic, so I'm going to stay in the business of research, which might be a bit unusual for most of you, in the sense that, like, I think me and Davide were, at my year, we were probably the only 2 people going for a PhD of the cohort. So if you feel like that you're the only one that is interested in a PhD, don't feel like that this is exception. It's actually quite normal, and hopefully this doesn't discourage you to pursue it. So what can I say is that, I want to say a couple of things. So first of all, that pursuing a PhD is like definitely part of a sort of a life choice for a bit, in the sense that it's kind of, especially in the US, it's kind of long. This is my 6th year of of the first 2 years you mostly do courses which are similar to the of courses that people at the Master of Economics do, and then you start doing your research career. And
we have a little bit of connection problem with Silvia.
Oh, do you hear me?
Try again. Yes.
I don't know if it's like the connection or the audio problem. Like, do you see me properly, or like?
No, it's the connection. But try again.
Okay.
Maybe now it's better, just in case. Yeah.
Okay. Let me. I don't know. Are you? Let me switch off the camera. Maybe I will have. Do you hear me?
No, don't switch it off. Let's try a little bit more.
Better now.
Keep it on, Silvia.
Okay. Well, whatever. I mean, hopefully you're getting something out of this.
Yes. Yes.
Anyways, so I would say, there are, as I said, I want to start with like the con side, in the sense that I think it's good to be honest. It's, as I said, it's kind of a long process. On the other hand, it's a very, I think we are in a very privileged position of like being paid to basically express your thoughts and think about things that you care about, and no one is going to tell you what you're supposed to do research on. No one is going to tell you what kind of results your research should have, which is something which is at least something I personally care a lot about. While I think sometimes in the private sector or in the consulting sector you might get into this type of conflict. So I think this is very valuable, at least to me, and I think it's that's basically what got me into choosing to do research, which was like, I have a lot of things I would like to find an answer for, and you're totally free to do it. And you actually, and the other really important thing that I think it might not be so obvious, especially if you always studied in Italy, is that outside, especially when you move, I don't know, maybe in Italy we're not so good at giving value to studying, in general, to academia. But like, if you go outside of the country, like being someone that does a PhD is actually something that is very highly considered. And so you sort of feel that you have a role, a social role in the society. I think that's something that I find very personally very rewarding. And then on top of that, which again was something that was very important for me, like 5 or 6 years ago, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And maybe I still don't know in some sense, in the sense that like I was not ready to sort of being sure about what type of career I wanted to pursue. And really a PhD opens up you many, many, many doors. Just to give you a sense, like we have heard, I got job offers at both, like I could have got a job offer in a consulting organization similar to Lair. I got a job offer at the IMF. So you could go for international organizations if you want afterwards, or you can decide to stay in academia. You really have plenty of choices after the PhD, and usually actually you also enter the organization at a higher level that, at least in my impression, in the international market is actually highly rewarding even from a point of view of money wise. So I think it's definitely a good investment beyond like your personal decision if you actually want to be an academic or not. Last but not least, which I think is crucial to stress, I think it's the most flexible choice you can make in your life. You're gonna be able to have a lot to decide your schedule always. This was true even before the pandemic. I could work from Italy. I could work from basically anywhere. You can work whenever you want, meaning that this is, again, there are pros and cons. It's not a 9-to-5 job, but no one is going to tell you like today you really need to be in the office at 9. I mean, after you have the courses, but after the courses are done, you're going to have a lot of flexibility. And again, there are pros and cons in the sense that you also need to be very good at, imposing deadlines to yourself and commit. But really gives you a lot of flexibility, and it's very easy to arrange your time and decide where you want to work from. And this stays true if you in a sense, if you choose an academic life later on, this, which is also partially why I decided to go for this way. And the very last thing that I want to say, which is also kind of related, is that if you're I think I'm a little bit of an anarchist. I don't really like to have a boss, and you don't have a boss. I mean, you have an advisor that helps you directing research, but you don't necessarily have someone telling you exactly what to do. Which again, there are pros and cons in the sense that you need to be very proactive. You need to find your own research ideas. You need to decide what you care about. But again, you really have a broad picture that you can decide to pursue. So I think overall, of course, I'm very happy. And of course, I want to be very honest. Most of the academics that they'll talk to you about a PhD, they decided to be academic. So there is selection. Like I decided that I wanted to stay in academia. So of course, I think academia is great. You should probably, maybe Davide will be able to say what's not so great about it and why you might decide to go for a different career. I think the very important thing to know is that if you decide to go for a PhD and you change your mind and you decided that academia is not for you, you're definitely going to be able to find another job, and usually a job that would treat you very well and where your skills would be considered to be very valuable. I'm very happy to go through the steps to go for a PhD, especially when you are at EEBL. My very strong advice is that if you want to go for a PhD in economics, you should really at least audit a few courses of the economics master, which would be math and econometrics, the hard one, not like the hard one, sorry, like the more theoretical one. This is a very unfortunate aspect of how PhD selection process works. There is a lot of value being placed on theoretical math skills, which I'm personally very against. But that's the system. That's what you should do. So, but you can still. I mean, I personally got in without having actually, taken the courses, just audited them, and then I would strongly recommend you to get some research exposure. By research exposure, I mean I benefited so much for working at the Proc Center with Elisabetta and having a sense what actually a research work means, which is not necessarily what a thesis is. Like, I got exposed to actually seeing that you can work in teams even doing research, which is something I didn't know at the beginning. And so my strong advice is that if you're thinking that you're interested into this, like start asking for being maybe a research assistant to some professor or working in a research center. Delaying of 1 year your completion of the master would not affect your admission. No one cares about how long it took you to do a master. So if you do like extra 6 months, but you have a research assistant experience, is going to be much more valuable than finishing early your master. So really try to invest on getting some exposure to research, and then of course these like courses requirements. And then you need to do these standardized tests, which I'm sure you can all know about, which is the GRE, which is basically just math of your middle school, but they just want to test how fast you are in doing reasoning. But that's really the minimum requirement, but it's not gonna be, you need to have that, but then you need to have much more. And by much more, again, like invest in your skills, in like trying to get some research exposure and try to do some extra courses, but really don't overstress about like being very fast, because that's really not going to be what people care about, but rather they care about the fact that you can show that you have a sense of what doing research means. So that, and then you can also understand if you like it or not, which is always better to have a sense before committing to 5 or 6 years of PhD path. Okay, I'll stop here. Thank you so much. Happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. I'll have a question immediately. In fact, more than a question is a comment. I'm very thankful for Silvia for saying what she said. Not all professors or professionals think the same, and I know that sometimes students may get a different advice. But what Silvia is saying really is that you should not really spend all your time just studying for the exams, which is something I strongly believe, because first of all, it's very normal for people like you not to know what you're going to do next. Okay, the purpose of this alumni is also to expose you to some jobs. But believe you me, none of the people who have, given this talk, I can bet, knew during their first or second year study exactly what they wanted to do. It's something you discover by meeting people, by going to a meeting, by attending a conference, by doing a night job, by chatting to someone. And then things happen step after step. And there is no way of knowing where a meeting, a chat can lead you. So whenever you have an opportunity, take it, because the opportunities very often don't come twice. And certainly they do what they can to come at the wrong time, meaning you're super busy studying and then it comes a good internship and you're there saying, what am I going to do? My advice as coordinator, and this might be funny, but then you must trust me, is that just go for the opportunity, okay? Postpone the exam a little bit, but grab the opportunity when it comes. Silvia, can you tell us when will be for you, because actually we do have students who are interested in the PhD. I just wrote a reference letter and I had to recommend the students exactly what you said about attending other courses in mathematics so can you tell whether you think when will be for them a good time to do the GRE? The GRE is this mathematical test.
I would say, so in my experience, I did everything. Well, again, my path was a bit strange, but like I did everything in the fall of my second year of the master, because I wanted, so applications are usually due in December or January at the latest. And so I did everything like, in September or October of my second year of EBL. I think you can also do it very easily over the summer. Like, it's something that it's really like almost fun, at least for me it was, to like prepare for it. It's not really something that you need to study for like, many hours a day. It's more about practice. So like doing some practice questions every day for like 10 or 15 minutes. That's how it worked for me at least. But so I would say that, but the important thing is that you need to have it done with the results done by the application deadline. And you, at least in my case, you want to get some extra time in case you want to retake the test, which again is unfortunate. And I think it's very unfair in the sense that, let's be honest, like I invested over 2,000 euros in my PhD application process, which I think is very unfair because like not everybody has those money to do. So I strongly encourage, I don't know if you have a program to help students to finance applications. I think that would be very nice, but unfortunately those tests are very expensive and you also need to pay to send the results to every single application that you make. So just, I would also, I feel that it's good to like let people know that it would be good to also have some savings and maybe work, know that this is unfortunately, it's also a bit of an expensive process. It pays off, but it's a bit of an expensive process.
That's very useful. Thank you, Silvia. Thank you so much. We don't have time for questions, but I'm sure people can contact you maybe later. And again, I'm really, really thankful for your time. We now move to the next speaker, who is Oliviero, if that's okay with you, because David is still having some connection problem. And Oliviero, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's wonderful. Oliviero and Silvia are from different years? I can remember.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Oliviero came out. Okay. So Oliviero Papa has recently joined the United Nations headquarters in New York City. Where are you, Oliviero?
In New York now. Yeah.
Okay.
It's more for me. We are not that far, Silvia.
As a former EEBL student, he specializes in procurement management. Before the United Nations, he served for national and international organizations such as the European Commission, and I'm sure he will tell us how he got there, the European Food Safety Authority, and the Agency for Digital Italy, AGID. He is a convinced supporter of continuous learning, which is very interesting, right? Invest on yourself, you never get it wrong, you never waste your time. After graduating from EEBL, he has continued to attend masters and conferences at the University of Rome Tor Vergata, and kept on learning competencies and new skills. By the way, I read somewhere just recently the secret for keeping young. Apparently, every 10 years we should learn a new competency. So I was thinking, what should be my next one? I'm still thinking, but meantime, so let me leave the floor to Oliviero. Really nice to see you here.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Thanks for the invitation. And yeah, I totally agree with you. And even because, you know, when you do continuous learning, actually you never get bored, and you always an occasion to, to find new ways and to get inspired that follow a little bit the flow. And this is the flow is a little bit the concept of my presentation, because it what happened to me. Because as maybe you mentioned before, as Silvia, I have a Bachelor in International Relations. So at a certain moment in time, I just ended up asking myself what it was the path that I wanted to pursue. So by chance, I just discovered the EEBL course. Just talking with someone that was doing the master, and I decided that it would have been better for me to collect some tool to some new tools for let's say advancing my career, and economics was one of my passions, and I wanted to that maybe I didn't discover very in the early stage of my life, but then I really engaged in the EEBL course, and I was so happy with my choice. And I'm gonna also a little bit describe what happened to me next. I have a few slides. They are not of the quality of our other speakers, but I will try to share my screen now. Okay, 1 second. Yes. Oops. Sorry. Spoiler. Okay. That's okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So, for example, after my studies in EEBL, I got a position as a trainee for the Agency for Digital Italy, because during my experience in the EEBL, I was very passionate about procurement, and with Elisabetta, we started a thesis path that led me to study pre-commercial procurement. That is a very, very peculiar way of making procurement in the public sector. And this led me also to this first internship at the AGID, where I somehow started also getting in touch with the European Commission and understanding how the procurement was done in the public sector, either in Italy and at the European level. And this was a continuous process of improvement. So I was kind of moving forward with the job, but also understanding what I wanted to do next. So I started applying to a lot of internships and traineeships to all the European agencies and the European Commission. And as you can see from my first slide here.
Okay.
Oh, can you see?
Yeah, that's fine. Beforehand, we stopped seeing the slide. Nice, perfect.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. No, because I cannot see you, so I was I was trying to understand if you could see me. Okay. So these are a series of traineeship that you can ask for as a graduate student from the European Union. There are the Blue Book traineeship that is going to be a 3 to 6 month traineeship to the European Commission. You are going to be put in one of the DG. So the DGs are a little bit like our government. It's like ministries. They cover several topics, and you can do this application as long as you have at least a bachelor. But I think all of you hold a bachelor. The Schumann traineeship is the same as the one organized by the European Parliament. And it gives you the chance to do 3 to 6 months in the European Parliament. As the Blue Book traineeship, you will be able to choose some of the fields that you may be interested into, and do a really, let's say, engage in this big opportunity to let yourself know, to understand a little bit better what you like and what you would like to do in the future. And then maybe the most important one are the traineeships that are actually held by the regulatory agencies, such as, for example, in my case was EFSA. So as I was telling you, after my thesis in procurement, as I've been working for the AGID, and then while I was working for the AGID, I did this application to the EFSA, the European Food Safety Authority. And then at the a little bit suddenly, I wasn't expected. I've been selected, and I've been selected for a procurement unit. So I started also getting familiar to the procurement in the EU. That I have to say, it's quite peculiar. It follows very strict rule. And then it was just, like a wheel, a spinning wheel. You start, you understand what you like, you meet people. If you work hard and you make yourself known, and then people evaluate good and can also sponsor you for other positions. And that's how somehow I ended up being in the European Commission. I started as a procurement officer there in one of the specialized agencies, the one that actually held and delivered also the Erasmus program to the students, to the university students all over Europe. And that was a very, very big opportunity to me, because it was the first time that I held a staff position. And it was also a position of relevance into the organization, and this happened really fast. So just to give the example of my life, is just that everything comes very fast. You really have to be ready to take the opportunity and to just go. So as I was saying, maybe for the sake of what can interest to you as a student or recently graduated, is that these traineeships are actually key for starting your career in the European institutions, because with that you can really let yourself know. So it's your opportunity to shine, and you have to do it. Another suggestion that I can maybe give you is that you should really understand and what you can do and what do you like, and specialize in it. Because also very often I have friends that maybe they are always a little bit, they never take me for an interview or for a position, but this is because maybe they have such a broad CV, like a very administrative CV, and this is something that maybe is not helping you a lot. You should try to specialize. You should try to find your niche. So to be relevant also for fields that maybe you would never even imagine. But as maybe I can just show you, this is the page of the job opportunities of the European Union. Here you can find a lot of positions, and you can also get a taste of what they are looking for. So and if you scroll down, you can go ahead, and there are also all the traineeship positions. You see, traineeship here. So you can see the Court of Auditors, that can be very interesting for the one maybe also interested in competition law or in audit. And then the ASHER, this is the Agency for Cooperation and Energy Regulators. So there are many of them, but you should really apply to all the one that you are a relevant profile for. And moreover, you really have to be ready to, at least this is my suggestion, my advice is be ready to move, be ready to go away, because I do remember a lot of people like blaming the United Nations or maybe the European institutions in Italy because they were not like taking a lot of Italians, but it is what it is. There are quotas of people, so you cannot really blame them because, they have a maximum of people that can come from the same country. So for example, for Italian people, it is not easy to get into this organization. They are not even free to hire you. So move, go abroad, and take your chance to really to start your career. So I'm coming back to my slides. Yeah, here. So maybe then this is the United Nations system. It's like, as you can see, it's quite complex, big, and for each of these acronyms, there are internships, there are consultancy positions. So it's a huge world that you have to explore. And I really suggest you to go also here on this, on this page. That is the UN career page, where you can find also the programs. There are the junior professional program that is held by some nation, some country that are sponsor nationals of the country to take actually staff position at a P2 level, that is a professional level, through the United Nations system. Or if you are, for instance, coming from underrepresented country, you can also have the young professional program that I think has been mentioned also by our colleagues in the World Bank before. And these are very, very interesting programs because they allow you to work as a staff member, so an internal staff member, and get yourself known, and also then continue your career inside the system. And it's called like the golden ticket to get into the United Nations. But there are also other ways like the internships or the consultancy. But still, to get these positions, you really have to move. You really have to find your niche, find let's say your expertise, and start working maybe close to this organization. Even if you cannot really work for the organization, let's try just to stay close to the organization, participate to meeting, work for consultancy firms that. I mean, in Brussels is full of them, or in New York is full of them. So this is a little bit my advice. And then lastly, just these are some of the skills that, for me, in my opinion, are needed to pursue was a spoiler, to pursue a career in the international organizations. So just 1 second. So I would just ask you, which is the most important for you? If you can just write it in the chat, maybe. If you can see them. Wait. No one? No one try? Okay, by the way, for me, they are all important. Like, these are all important. All that you need to do is having all of that, taking care of all of that, for pursuing a career in the international organization. And I think I'm gonna just stop here. But if you have any questions about, let's say, the careers in the EU, maybe I can also give you some advice in private. If you just write me maybe on LinkedIn. I didn't, as my colleague before, I didn't put my email address, but I mean, you can find me easily on LinkedIn, Oliviero Papa, it's easy. So I'm gonna just stop sharing.
Let me, I can see some people sent the chat and there are questions, but let me maybe first move to David, and then we have a little bit of time if Olivier and Silvia can hold for questions. We will have to be quick, so whoever wants to ask questions to one of the three speakers, get ready. Let me just ask one question to Olivier very fast, which is something you said before. So, which is very important. You said it, maybe also Silvia said it, is that your thesis is the first business card. Okay, so remember when you choose your thesis to choose something that you really like, because that could be the beginning of your career path. And of course, it has to be something you like. Olivera, would you agree? Yes.
Yeah, completely. I mean, for me, it was really the starting point, because I mean, I after our course in industrial organization, and then wait, Olivier, perhaps you forget persistence and patience. Yeah, probably. Yes, that's for sure. That's for sure. I also use the overabused word resilience these days. It's I mean, everyone is using it, but actually it's the key of everything, because I mean, these careers are very slow. This career is very slow. It's not like getting into a consultancy firm and then if you work hard in 2-3 years you get to a senior associate position. No, it's not. Here you have to really to invest on yourself and have faith in you. And then yes, I mean, first of all and most important, it's paramount to be ready to move. Really, if you are looking for a job in Rome, guys, it can happen, but I mean it's a mixture of things. It's not easy to take. And for example, me, I would never expect to get into the United Nations in my life. I mean, I was very good where I was in the European institution, but then when the opportunity come, and it come just because of the CV I've been building like these years. I mean, and then you're satisfied, really. But as Professor Yassa was saying, it's just you have to start from a strong thesis, and also the thesis can then open you for, the thesis is also a good excuse to ask for internships, guys. So you can use it for as a business card, going somewhere that you want to work for, try to understand what they are researching on, and ask them just to give you an opportunity to work for free for them as a good and skilled young professional, and then
Federica.
Go.
Sì, ok. No, Oliviero, this is super useful, and yes, I'm saying this is super useful. Thank you, Oliviero, so much. There are so many thoughts that come to my mind about things we can do to just stress these insights. But meantime, okay, let me introduce you to Davide Bellucci, our next and final speaker. Davide obtained his PhD in economics from the University of Turin in May 2020, and then joined the LEAR as junior consultant in 2020. Before, he worked as consultant in the Research and Impact Assessment Division of the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD, of the United Nations. Davide obtained his master's degree in European Economy and Business Law, EEBL, in 2015, with a thesis on the liberalization process of the Italian tobacco market. Davide, who was your supervisor, by the way?
Alessandro Piergallini.
Piergallini. Okay. Yes. He also completed the second level master's in development economics and international cooperation in the same university with us. He has different papers co-authored with Becchetti on life satisfaction, generativity, and gambling addiction. Davide, really nice to see you here. Thank you so much. The floor is yours.
Okay. I mean, good afternoon, everybody. Let me share the screen. Can you see it?
It's coming, yes.
Okay. So I want to thank Elisabetta and Federica for organizing this meeting and for inviting me to give you my experience with EEBL. I just have really few words to tell you, and I think that what you want to really know from me is whether EEBL has had an impact in my life. I mean, whether what you are studying now is, I mean, really worth to study for your future career. So if you're interested in knowing this, whether EEBL has an impact, the answer is yes, definitely yes. In my life, in my professional career, EEBL has been really important, and I think it's when really everything started. This is just in one slide, I would say the EEBL effect. This is me before EEBL, and this is me after EEBL. So as you can see, it had an impact, and a big impact, I would say. What I've done in my life up to now is, I mean, I started the bachelor and I started like really slow. I took a lot of time to complete the bachelor, but then I started the EEBL and I went much more faster. And why is that? I think that because I really liked the EEBL, the organization, and the course that I was doing at that time. After EEBL, as Elisabetta said, I did the MESCI, which is a Master in Development and International Cooperation. After that, I did the PhD. And January 2020, I joined the layer of Professor Bucci-Rossi. In the meantime, I did some consultancy services in the Research and Impact Assessment division of the HIFA here in Rome. But then, why EEBL really had an impact in my career? I think that the EEBL strength is the answer, basically. What I found in EEBL is an extremely maybe useful multidisciplinary approach. Why? Because during EEBL I studied law, and I learned to merge economic notion with statistics, with law. I don't know, maybe with policy. But they at the same time, EEBL gave me a very good economic background and quantitative. It had a quantitative approach. And what I really liked about EEBL is that we used to study not only on classical textbook, but we read many papers during EEBL. So it had a very applied approach, and this is extremely useful for your career. In fact, in the work that I do now, we merge the economic theory with the knowledge of antitrust law, knowledge of econometrics to provide consultancy services to our customer. And when you're able to merge all this notion from different subjects, different matters, that's really an advantage, I would say. In fact, as also Elisabetta was saying, my thesis was in the liberalization of the tobacco market, and my thesis touched all of this. Not all of this, but different subjects. In fact, I studied the European regulation for the liberalization process, the European regulation for the pricing of the tobacco market and the taxation of the tobacco products. But then, aside, I did consumer survey, and I analyzed the data to study the consumption behavior with relation to price changes. And so for my thesis, I used all the knowledge I acquired during the EEBL on the commercial law, and also the econometric subjects, matters, let's say. So there are, other than the people that you listened today, other than me, Silvia and Oliviero, EEBL has been very useful for many of us, and these are all people from the same year, from a same course. And as you can see, there is also Carlotta Galastri. She works at Save the Children in London. Gabriele Manente is a senior sales and operation manager in Panama. Claudio Sinibaldi is an international trade expert and works at the British Consulate. Francesca Polverenzi is a regulatory affair and works for Enel. While instead Valerio is also a buyer at Enel. So as you can see, we are people that studied the same. We did the same master. We had the same background, but then this same background has been applied. I did the PhD. I worked in the research division of IFAD. So we are people and Silvia is doing the PhD. Is finishing the PhD in the US. So we are people with basically the same background. We studied the same master, but then the same master has been applied to different environment and to different sector. So I think that this multidisciplinarity of EEBL and all the notion that EEBL can give you is extremely useful for your career. So this is all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening and for inviting.
Thank you, Davide. I loved your first picture, communicate. So it's very good to know that also what you were saying about our program of studies. In one of the slides I put on, I was trying to maybe even inform you about how things keep changing and developing. We try to evolve with and adapt the program to the feedbacks we receive from students, and also to sort of the way the world is developing and evolving. Just this year we have made I can see, for example, that the number of our students who are attending applied econometrics as an optional course is going up. We don't make it compulsory because we have students who want to take up the career path, but you know, the feedbacks and the stories you're telling us help us to keep developing. And maybe just one thing I don't remember. So when you applied you did the master's in competition policy and regulation in Barcelona, Davide, at some stage or not? No. Okay. It was. I was thinking that was. No, the mesh. Yes. But that is, so we have a couple of former students who loved the IO, went there, and that's just was wondering. Yes, Federica is advising me on the phone. I'm connected about this. And it's interesting because in a sense, your career path did take, Davide, some turn, right? From the development tomorrow of IO. So I think you will all share with me the idea that, you know, what Steve Jobs said in his famous commencement address at Stanford, which everybody should watch. It's online, and it's really something that says you really have to go for what you love. Don't ever be afraid of making changes. This is because the power of passion is incredible, and if you do something you really like, you can just achieve things that cannot be achieved otherwise. I will stop here. If there are questions, we have really just a couple of minutes. I can see Greta has raised her hand. Greta, do you want to say something? Or maybe if this was not coming from the past, or if someone else wants to ask a question, say something to our speakers. Greta is coming. Yes.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. It's so nice to meet you again after some years, and I want to congratulate Oliviero especially for all the experience and everything. Bravo, Oliviero.
Are you were students together, Greta?
Yeah.
Ah,
we
okay.
were in the same year, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. That's nice.
And I want
Greta, yes.
Yeah, okay. No. It was only for the thing that Oliviero was asking about the last thing, but I couldn't find the chat part, so I raised the hand to speak. But
so now, maybe another year, Greta, you will come to the alumni as a speaker.
Yeah, with pleasure.
Thank you. Nice.
Good luck to everybody.
Thank you to all. Do we have any other comment? I can see many of you: Sara, Musa, Lorenzo, Danny.
Question, if I may, Professor.
Yes, of course.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. It's very appreciated from us to get a sense of what is coming next. And I actually have a more general question on the PhD. Do you believe, and I'm asking, I don't know who wants to answer, that there are some positions in the work environment that requires the PhD? Or is there, so it's something that, I mean, do I have really to consider the PhD even if I don't want to pursue an academic career? So that was the question. Thank you.
I mean, I don't know if Silvia and Oliviero wants to answer, but I would say for my personal experience, yes, of course. But because just because, I mean, during the PhD, I learned to do some research, to work with data, making that analysis. That during EEBL, honestly, I mean, I had the chance to start this subject, but the PhD really gave me the tools to work with data, basically, and that's really an advantage for the work environment as well. That's what I would say.
May I say, like, I would say there are positions, especially in the, I mean, it's all about hierarchy. There are positions on top of the hierarchy, many organizations where you need a PhD, like, for example, in the IMF or in the World Bank. But I would strongly advise you not to do a PhD only because you think you need to do it for work, because all the people I saw doing this, they dropped out. They never finished. They were very sad. Rather, you can just do an MBA for most, I mean, at least in the US, for most of the positions at the top of the hierarchy like in consulting, or even sometimes in some organizations, a good MBA is equivalently considered as a PhD. But definitely, like, the PhD is such a commitment, and it's so, like, it's a long experience. You need to have a better motivation than just like thinking that you need it for a job, because otherwise you're gonna be unhappy. And this is like connected to what Elisabetta said, that you still need to have passion, and the PhD definitely requires a lot of passion, at least the one that I did it. And the job motivation, I mean, it depends. Maybe you're very career oriented, and so for you that also brings passion, but I would strongly advise not to consider that as the only reason, because that's going to be tough.
Thank you. Super interesting.
Thank you very much.
Exactly. Any other questions? Giulio, who's been here since the very beginning, is there anything you want to ask? Danny, Eduardo? I can see Giulio's typing. Oh. I will write to you an email, Professor. Thank you. Okay. Guys, any other question? Okay, so let me just stop here. We will run for 2 hours, which was a little bit more than 2 hours, which was our target. Once again, many thanks to our testimonials and our audience. I can see my colleague Thomas also for sharing this experience with us. And let me say thanks to Federica Corrente, who is always behind on the scene and has been, planning and doing things, making this a successful, smooth event. Thanks, Federica. Thank you all again, and all the best of luck. We may have another Alumni Day 10 years later. We will contact you again, but as usual, keep in touch, because it's very nice to see you and then to know how your career is developing. All the best. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you much. Bye.